It was a bright and sunny day, and the air filled with a sense of accomplishment as families gathered at the graduation ceremony of the local university. Among the graduates was a young boy named Chris, who stood nervously at the podium, ready to deliver his graduation speech. As he stepped forward, the crowd hushed, and all eyes turned toward him. Chris took a deep breath and began,
"Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We've come a long way from the first day we set foot on this campus, unsure of what the future held for us. Today, as we stand on the brink of a new chapter in our lives, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey that brought us here."
His speech was heartfelt and resonated with the audience. He spoke about the challenges they faced, the friendships they formed, and the growth they experienced. As he concluded his speech, the auditorium erupted into applause. Proud parents, relatives, and friends cheered for the graduates. However, Chris's gaze wasn't fixed on the sea of faces applauding. It was directed towards a particular person in the crowd, Bella. She sat there with tears welling up in her eyes, a proud smile on her face. She knew the hardships they had faced, and seeing her son standing there with a gold medal around his neck filled her heart with immense joy. After the ceremony, amidst the sea of graduates and their families, Chris made his way to Bella.
"Mum," he said, embracing her tightly, "I couldn't have done it without your support. This gold medal is as much yours as it is mine."
Bella beamed with pride and replied, "You've made me the happiest mother today, Chris. I always knew you had it in you." Eager to share his happiness, Chris took Bella around to meet his friends and their families. Each introduction was accompanied by stories of their adventures, laughter, and words of gratitude for the support they had received. As the sun began to set, Chris surprised Bella with an invitation to a new restaurant that had just opened in the city. The exterior was adorned with vibrant lights, and the welcoming atmosphere intrigued them. Upon entering, the staff greeted them with warmth and genuine smiles, making Bella feel a bit overwhelmed. "Why are they treating us so nicely?" she whispered to Chris. With a mischievous smile, Chris responded,
"Well, Mum, I did mention a surprise a few days ago. This is it."
Puzzled, Bella asked, "This is what? What's the surprise?" with pride in his eyes. Chris said,
"Mum, my friend and I have opened this restaurant."
Bella was taken aback. "Your restaurant?"
"Yes, Mum, our restaurant," Chris confirmed.
Bella couldn't believe her ears. A mix of shock and overwhelming joy rendered her speechless. She blinked back tears and finally managed to say, "My son, you've grown up." As they shared an emotional moment, Chris led Bella to a reserved table. The restaurant staff continued to shower them with attention, and the ambience buzzed with excitement. Overwhelmed by the realization that her son was now a successful entrepreneur, Bella couldn't stop smiling. During their lunch, they reminisced about their life's journey, from the challenges of Chris's academic pursuits to the joyous moments shared with friends. The conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter, love, and gratitude. "I never imagined you'd surprise me like this, Chris. I am so proud of you," Bella said, wiping away a tear.
"This is just the beginning, Mum. We have a big dream for this place,"
Chris replied, his eyes gleaming with determination. After the memorable lunch, they returned to their village, where Chris's success became the talk of the town. The warmth of their shared accomplishment strengthened the bond between mother and son. And so, amidst the echoes of their village, the story of Chris's graduation, the surprise restaurant, and the shared dreams of a mother and son continued to unfold, a testament to the power of hard work, determination, and unwavering support of family and friends. The news of Chris's success had spread like wildfire throughout the village. As they arrived home, the whispers and congratulations from neighbours and friends filled the air. Bella basking in the pride of her son's achievements, couldn't help but feel a deep sense of joy. The warm embrace of the village welcomed them, and Chris was eager to share his happiness with everyone. After settling down for a while, Chris noticed Bella bustling around the kitchen, gathering ingredients to prepare something special. The sweet aroma of dark chocolate wafted through the air, creating an inviting atmosphere. Curious, Chris approached Bella and asked,
"What's going on, Mum? Why are you making chocolates?"
Bella turned to him with a smile. "Well, dear, your success is the talk of the village, and I thought it would be wonderful to spread some happiness. I'm making these chocolates to share with our neighbours and friends. It's a small gesture, but it will bring smiles to their faces." Concerned about Bella exerting herself, Chris said,
"Mum, you've been through a lot today. You should take some rest. I can help you."
Bella chuckled, patting his cheek. "Don't worry, my dear. This is a joyous occasion, and I want to contribute to the celebration. Besides, making these chocolates together will be a special memory for us." Chris couldn't argue with that, and so they embarked on the chocolate-making adventure together. The kitchen was filled with laughter and the clinking of utensils as they melted the chocolate, moulded it into shapes, and decorated each piece with care. The bond between mother and son grew stronger with every shared moment. Once the chocolates were ready, they set out to distribute them to the villagers. Armed with a basket full of delicious treats, they visited each house, spreading smiles and receiving heartfelt congratulations. The villagers were genuinely happy for Chris's success, and the air buzzed with excitement and goodwill. As they went from door to door, Bella expressed her gratitude. "You know, Chris, success is not just about personal achievements. It's also about sharing joy with those around us. This small gesture will make our village feel like a big, warm family." Chris nodded, realizing the profound truth in Bella's words. The simple act of giving back to the community brought immense joy to both of them. The villagers showered them with blessings, good wishes, and words of encouragement, making the chocolate distribution a memorable experience. It took them the better part of the day to visit every household, but the smiles and gratitude they received made it all worthwhile. By the time they returned home in the evening, they were tired but content. As they sat down to rest, sipping on some water, Chris couldn't help but express his admiration.
"Mum, you're incredible. Your selflessness and love for the community are truly inspiring."
Bella smiled. "We've always been part of this village, and their joy is our joy. Now let's share some of these chocolates ourselves and relax for a bit." They opened a box of chocolates, indulging in the sweet treats they had prepared together. Each bite was a reminder of the shared moments, laughter, and love that had filled their day. The warmth of their connection resonated in the simple joy of enjoying chocolate together. Later in the evening, Chris decided to take charge of the kitchen and prepare dinner for Bella. He wanted to show his gratitude for her unwavering support and dedication. The proud mother watched as her son skillfully prepared a meal, marvelling at how much he had grown. "I never thought I'd see the day when my son would be making dinner for us," she said, a twinkle in her eyes. Chris grinned. "Well, Mum, you taught me well. Now it's my turn to take care of you." Dinner was served, and they savoured the meal together, savouring not only the flavours but also the love that went into its preparation. The tiredness from the day's activities melted away as they shared stories, laughter, and dreams for the future. As they settled into their beds at night, a sense of happiness and fulfillment lingered in the air. Chris looked at Bella, who was already half asleep, and whispered, "Thank you, Mum. Today was one of the best days of my life." Bella, though drowsy, managed a soft smile. "And you made it even better, my dear. Oh, I'm so proud of the wonderful person you've become." In the embrace of their small, cosy home, mother and son drifted into a peaceful sleep, grateful for the love and shared moments that had made their day truly special. The following days unfolded as a serene continuation of Chris's journey in the village. Eager to reconnect with his roots, he spent his time alongside Bella, working on their small farm and tending to the livestock that had been a part of their family for generations. The next morning, Chris and Bella stepped out into the crisp air. The farm, a patchwork of vibrant greens and earthy browns, awaited their care. They began by feeding the chickens and collecting fresh eggs. As Chris gathered the warm eggs from the nests, Bella smiled. "You remember how to do it, just like when you were a little boy." Chris chuckled. "It's like riding a bike, Mum. Once you learn, you never forget." With the day's tasks ahead, they moved on to the vegetable patch. Chris's hands, accustomed to the keyboard and the hustle of city life, embraced the cool touch of the soil as they planted seeds and watered the crops. Bella shared stories of the family's farming traditions, weaving memories into the fabric of their work. As they moved to the livestock, Chris couldn't help but notice the sense of tranquility that enveloped the village. The rhythmic sounds of hooves on the dirt path and the gentle lowing of cows echoed in the air. Chris took a moment to appreciate the simplicity of life here, away from the noise and chaos of the city. Bella, a seasoned caretaker of the animals, guided Chris through the tasks. They fed the goats, checked on the cows, and ensured that each member of their animal family was well cared for. The familiarity of these routines, once distant memories, now felt like a comforting embrace. The village too embraced Chris as he walked its familiar paths. Greetings and smiles from neighbours echoed in the air. Chris stopped by the local market, engaging in light banter with the vendors. The simple joy of conversing with the villagers, sharing stories and laughter, brought a sense of fulfillment. As the sun dipped, casting a warm glow on the village, Chris and Bella returned home, their hands bearing the evidence of a day's honest work. The aroma of a simple, home-cooked meal filled the air, promising a comforting end to the day. The next morning brought a similar routine, with Chris and Bella waking up early to tend to the farm. The villagers, now aware of Chris's presence, greeted him with familiarity. The small talk evolved into meaningful conversations as Chris listened to the stories of the village, the challenges they faced, and the triumphs they celebrated. One elderly villager, leaning on a cane, approached Chris with a twinkle in his eye.
"Oh, you've brought a different kind of energy to the village, young man. It's good to see the younger generation taking interest in our way of life."
Chris humbly replied,
"It's an honour to be a part of this community, even if it's just for a little while."
Throughout the day, Chris and Bella engaged in various tasks, from repairing fences to milking the cows. The hands that had once typed away on a keyboard were now accustomed to the tactile sensations of farm life. Bella, watching him with pride, remarked, "You've adapted so quickly, my dear. It's as if you've never left." As they took a break in the shade of an old oak tree, Chris reflected on the simple pleasures of village life.
"You know, Mum, there's a certain peace here that I've missed. The city is fast-paced, and sometimes you forget to appreciate the small things."
Bella nodded. "Life here is about simplicity and connection. It's a rhythm that keeps us grounded." In the afternoon, Chris took a stroll through the village, exchanging pleasantries with the locals. He visited the village school, where memories of his childhood flooded back. The laughter of the children, the dedicated teachers, and the timeless charm of the small building brought a sense of nostalgia. By the time the sun began its descent, Chris and Bella had accomplished another day's worth of work. The village, bathed in the golden hues of sunset, felt like a haven of peace. As they walked home, Chris couldn't help but express his gratitude.
"These past 2 days have been a treasure, Mum. I feel a connection to this place that I haven't felt in years."
Bella smiled. "It's your home, Chris. No matter where life takes you, this village will always be a part of who you are." That evening, Chris and Bella gathered in their modest kitchen, preparing a hearty dinner with the day's harvest. The aroma of freshly cooked food filled the air as they sat down to share a meal. The simple joy of breaking bread together, with the fruits of their labour on the table, was a testament to the bond between them. As they retired to bed, the tiredness in their bodies was overshadowed by the warmth in their hearts. Chris looked at Bella, who was already dozing off, and whispered,
"I never realised how much I missed this, Mum. Thank you for bringing me back."
Bella, in the gentle embrace of sleep, mumbled, "You never really left, my dear. Home is where the heart is." And so, under the canopy of stars, in the quietude of the village, mother and son found solace in the simplicity of a life rooted in love, hard work, and the timeless connection to the land they called home. The next morning dawned with a sense of purpose, as Chris and Bella sat down for breakfast. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the sizzle of eggs on the pan filled the kitchen. They chatted about the farm, the village, and the simple joys of life. However, amidst the warmth of the morning, a call interrupted the tranquillity. As Chris reached for his buzzing phone, he noticed it was from George, his friend and business partner. With a glance at the screen, he excused himself from the table, answering the call. George's voice crackled through the phone.
"Chris, we need you back at the hotel. There are some important changes and new ideas we need to discuss for the restaurant."
Chris, nodding with understanding, replied,
"Sure, I'll be there. I'll leave right away."
Ending the call, he returned to the table, Bella looking at him with a questioning gaze. Chris sighed.
Mum, I need to go back to the restaurant. There are some changes and new ideas we need to work on."
Bella, ever supportive, nodded. "Oh, of course, dear. Finish your breakfast and I'll help you pack." As they finished their meal, Bella efficiently packed some essentials for him, a mix of snacks for the journey and a little something to eat once he arrived at his destination. Chris expressed his gratitude with a smile.
"Thanks, Mum. Oh, your cooking will make the journey much better."
With the bags packed and breakfast enjoyed, Chris and Bella headed to the door. Before leaving, Bella embraced him and handed him the packed food, saying, "Take care, and don't forget to eat on the way. Call me when you reach home."
"I will, Mum. Don't worry. Don't forget to take your high blood pressure medicines,"
Chris reassured her, giving her one last hug before stepping into his car. Bella stood at the doorstep, waving him goodbye as he drove away. The journey was relatively smooth, and Chris found himself reflecting on the past few days. The connection he felt with his roots, the simple joys of village life, and the love of Bella had rejuvenated him. However, the prospect of working on new ideas for the hotel ignited a different kind of excitement within him. Around 2 p.m. he pulled into the parking lot of the hotel. George, eagerly waiting for him, greeted him with a smile.
"You came early, man." "Yeah, the roads were clear, so what's the plan?" Chris replied, eager to dive into the discussions.
George led him to a quiet corner of the restaurant where they could brainstorm without disturbances. Setting down, they started the meeting with a brief catch-up on personal matters.
"Oh, how was your time in the village?"
George asked, genuinely interested.
"Oh, it was amazing. Refreshing. I got to reconnect with the farm, help my mother, and enjoy the simple pleasures of life."
Chris shared a hint of nostalgia in his voice.
George smiled. "Oh, that's great to hear. Now let's get down to business. We've been brainstorming some new ideas to elevate the restaurant experience. First, let's talk about the menu."
For the next couple of hours, Chris and George delved into a passionate discussion about the restaurant's menu. They discussed the incorporation of seasonal ingredients, the introduction of new dishes that showcased local flavours, and the importance of presentation.
"We want to create an experience, not just serve food," George emphasised.
Chris nodded in agreement.
"Absolutely. The ambience, the flavours, and the overall dining experience should leave a lasting impression on our customers."
They moved on to the marketing strategies, contemplating ways to reach a broader audience and increase footfall. Social media campaigns, collaborations with local influencers, and special promotions were among the ideas tossed around. As they sketched out plans, Chris's mind buzzed with enthusiasm. The prospect of bringing something new and exciting to the restaurant filled him with a renewed sense of purpose.
We should also consider customer feedback and reviews. Let's establish a system to gather and respond to them promptly, Chris suggested, emphasizing the importance of customer satisfaction.
George nodded.
Good point. Customer engagement is key. We want them to feel a connection with the restaurant.
By the end of the meeting, they had outlined a comprehensive plan that included menu revisions, marketing strategies, and improvements to customer engagement. The restaurant was poised for a fresh, invigorating chapter. After the productive meeting, Chris called Bella to update her on his arrival and assure her that everything was going well. Bella, hearing the excitement in his voice, expressed her joy.
Oh, I knew you would do great things, my dear.
Take care of yourself. The rest of the day was spent finalizing plans and preparing for the implementation of the new ideas. As evening descended, Chris felt a sense of accomplishment. The meeting had not only been about business, but also growth, collaboration, and the shared vision for a successful venture. After the productive meeting with George at the restaurants, Chris found himself back at his apartment. The urban buzz a stark contrast to the quietude of the village. He freshened up, feeling the city wash away the traces of the countryside from his skin. Hunger gnawed at him, and he unpacked the food Bella had lovingly prepared for the journey. As he savoured the familiar flavours, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of nostalgia for the simple meals he had shared with Bella in the village. The contrast between the bustling city life and the tranquillity of the countryside lingered in his mind. However, the wheels of innovation were already turning, and Chris decided to channel his newfound inspiration into making a positive impact on the restaurant. Settling down in his apartment, Chris's thoughts turned to the challenge of increasing customer engagement for the restaurant. Remembering Bella's words, "Life here is about simplicity and connection. It's a rhythm that keeps us grounded." He pondered on how to infuse the essence of these words into the heart of the restaurant. Opening his laptop, Chris dove into the river of social media, scrolling through platforms filled with vibrant images, engaging content, and the pulse of the city. It was in this digital realm that an idea began to take shape. A way to bring simplicity, connection, and a sense of home into the restaurant experience. He envisioned creating a campaign that celebrated the stories and connections forged within the restaurant's walls. Rather than solely focusing on promotions and flashy advertisements, the campaign would shine a spotlight on the patrons themselves, the heartbeats of the establishment. Inspired by Bella's words, Chris wanted to convey that the restaurant was not just a place to eat, but a space where hearts felt safe and connections flourished. Excited about his idea, he immediately called George, eager to share the spark of inspiration.
Hey, I've got something. You know what my mum always says about life in the village? It's about simplicity and connection. I think we can bring that essence to the restaurant, Chris exclaimed.
George, intrigued, responded.
Tell me more. What's the idea?
Chris proceeded to lay out his vision of a campaign centered around the customers and their experiences.
We'll encourage patrons to share their stories, memories, and moments at the restaurant on social media. It's not just about the food, it's about the connections made here. We can create a hashtag like #HeartfeltConnections or something, where people can share their experiences.
George paused, considering the concept.
I like it. It adds a personal touch to the restaurant and makes it more than just a place to eat.
It's about fostering a sense of community and shared experiences. Encouraged by George's enthusiasm, Chris continued,
Exactly. We can feature these stories on our social media, create a wall of connections in the restaurants where we showcase customer testimonials. Maybe we can even host events where patrons can meet and share their stories in person.
George chuckled.
You've tapped into the essence of your mum's wisdom. It's all about creating a home away from home. Let's bring this up in the meeting tomorrow and see how we can integrate it in our overall strategy.
With plans in motion, the call ended, leaving Chris feeling a sense of accomplishment. He knew that this idea had the potential to not only increase customer engagement, but also build a stronger sense of community around the restaurant. As Chris prepared to sleep, the glow of his laptop casting a soft light across the room, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey he had embarked on. Bella's words had been the catalyst for a profound idea that resonated with the core values of the restaurant. He felt a warmth in his heart, realizing that this endeavor wasn't just about business. It was about creating a space where people felt a genuine connection and a sense of belonging. With a smile on his face, Chris drifted into a contented sleep, envisioning the positive impact his idea could have on the restaurant and the lives of those who walked through its doors. The rhythm of simplicity and connection echoed in his dreams, promising a future where hearts found solace and the restaurant truly became a home away from home. In the bustling cityscape where dreams were forged and fortunes made, Chris found himself navigating through the myriad of opportunities and challenges that came with expanding his restaurant business. The decision to open 2 more branches was both thrilling and demanding, promising growth but also potential strain on personal relationships. Chris knew he had to work harder than ever to prove the success of the additional branches. As he unfolded the ambitious plan to his team, excitement filled the room. However, unbeknownst to Chris, this endeavour would inadvertently create a growing distance between him and the person who had been his unwavering source of support, Bella. After the meeting, Chris found a quiet corner to share the news with Bella. As he spoke about the new branches, her voice lit up with pride. Yet beneath the joy was a tinge of sadness, an acknowledgement of the inevitable physical and emotional distance these next few months might bring. "I'm so proud of you, Chris," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "But these months might be challenging for us. Just remember, no matter where you are, you should call me so I don't get concerned." Chris reassured Bella.
"I know, Mum. I'll be busy. I'll try to call as often as I can."
Bella, masking her concern, replied, "Don't worry about me, dear. Focus on your dreams. I'll be waiting for your calls." As the days unfolded, Chris threw himself into the task of expanding the restaurant. His first step was to explore potential locations for the new branches. He traversed the city from one neighbourhood to another, considering the pros and cons of each area. After identifying 4 promising locations, he delved into the nitty-gritty details. Meeting with brokers, landlords and mall owners, Chris collected information on real estate conditions, lease terms and financial implications for each potential site. It was a meticulous process, demanding time and attention to detail. As he gathered the necessary data, Chris collaborated with his partner to assess the viability of each location. Once the choices were narrowed down, they engaged an architect and interior designer to replicate the essence of the original restaurant while infusing each new branch with its unique charm. Days blurred into weeks as the infrastructures took shape, becoming a reflection of Chris's dreams and ambitions. However, amidst the hustle and bustle of construction and planning, Bella, back in the quiet village, felt a growing void. The weeks turned into a monotonous routine, and the absence of her son's voice left an indescribable ache. She waited patiently for his calls, hoping to hear about his progress and share in his triumphs. Yet the phone remained silent. Her son, immersed in the city lights, was oblivious to the growing unease that enveloped Bella. The once lively and energetic woman retreated into the confines of her home, her interactions with the villagers dwindling. Worried whispers circulated through the community, wondering about the change in her demeanour. As the days turned into weeks, Chris's focus on his burgeoning business intensified. Bella's calls, once a regular occurrence, became sporadic. When he did answer, his responses were brief and his mind seemed preoccupied with the challenges of running multiple restaurants. In the village, loneliness weighed heavily on Bella. She tried calling him more frequently, yearning for the comforting sound of his voice. However, her calls often went unanswered, and when Chris did pick up, the conversations were rushed, leaving her with an ache in her heart. One day, feeling the weight of solitude pressing down on her, she mustered the courage to express her feelings to Chris. "Chris," she began hesitantly, "I've been feeling a bit odd lately. Health is going up and down. Oh, could you come and visit? I just need to see you." However, Chris, caught up in his professional commitments, dismissed her request and slowly became ungrateful towards her.
"Mom, I'm really busy right now. We're in the middle of a crucial phase with the new branches. I'll try to visit when things settle down. Just take care, okay?"
The words stung, and Bella, though understanding, couldn't shake off the profound sadness that settled within her. The following weeks brought more of the same: unanswered calls, fleeting conversations, and a growing emotional distance that mirrored the physical miles between them. Back in the village, the community noticed the change in Bella. The vibrant woman who had once been the heart of the village now moved through life like a shadow of her former self. Concerned neighbours tried to offer support, but the void left by Chris's absence was palpable. As the bustling city continued to thrive with the success of the new branches, Chris remained oblivious to the emotional toll his relentless pursuit of success had taken on Bella. The once unbreakable bond between them seemed to fray with each passing day. In the quiet village, amid the rustling leaves and distant sounds of the countryside, Bella endured the solitude, silently hoping for a day when her son would find a moment to return home, not as a successful businessman, but as the loving son she had always known him to be. In the heart of the bustling city, the groundwork for Chris's 2 new restaurant branches was nearing completion. The interiors, carefully designed to echo the warmth and charm of the original restaurant, were taking shape. The excitement within Chris and his team was palpable as they prepared to introduce their culinary haven to new neighbours. With most aspects of the restaurants ready, Chris and George decided to generate buzz before the grand openings. They took to social media, posting teasers and announcements about the imminent arrival of the new branches. The response from customers was overwhelming. They were eager to explore what Chris's culinary creations had to offer in these fresh locations. As the anticipation built, Chris and George turned their attention to another critical aspect: human resources. Skilled chefs and dedicated waitstaff were crucial to maintaining the high standards set by the original restaurants. They began the search for talented individuals who would bring the essence of their vision to life. Through referrals, they identified a few seasoned chefs known for their culinary prowess. These chefs were not just experts in the kitchen, they also understood the philosophy behind Chris's restaurant, a commitment to simplicity, connection, and heartfelt experiences. Chris and George decided to bring them on board and provided training to ensure that the new branches reflected the quality and spirit of the original one. For the waitstaff, they sought individuals with a passion for customer service and a genuine interest in creating memorable dining experiences. After a thorough selection process, they assembled a team of enthusiastic waiters ready to embark on a 1-month training program. The training for both chefs and waiters was an intensive process, aimed at instilling not only the necessary skills but also a deep understanding of the restaurant's ethos. The chefs delved into the intricacies of the menus, honing their techniques under the guidance of experienced mentors. The emphasis was not just on cooking, but on creating an experience that resonated with the customers. Meanwhile, the waitstaff underwent comprehensive training in customer service, learning the art of hospitality that Chris held dear. They were taught to anticipate the needs of the guests, creating a welcoming ambience and weave the narrative of #heartfelt connections into every interaction. The chefs and waiters were not just employees. They were becoming part of a family, dedicating to crafting moments of joy and connection for each patron. The 1-month training period became a transformative journey, fostering camaraderie and a shared commitment to the values of the restaurant. As the training progressed, Chris and George also focused on the promotion of the new branches. They shared behind-the-scenes glimpses on social media, offering followers a sneak peek into the preparation, the passion of the chefs, and the dedication of the waitstaff. The response from the online community was overwhelmingly positive, building anticipation for the grand openings. Amidst the whirlwind of activity in the city, Bella, in the quiet village, faced a different kind of whirlwind, a decline in her health. The absence of her son's regular calls had taken a toll, both emotionally and physically. Her once lively spirit had dimmed, and she struggled to cope with the solitude. Neighbours, noticing the change in her demeanour, tried reaching out to Chris. However, she staunchly resisted any interference, not wanting to burden her son with concerns about her well-being. The once vibrant woman who had been the pillar of strength in the village now withdrew into the solitude of her home, grappling with a growing sense of loneliness. As the days turned into weeks, Chris remained immersed in the hustle and bustle of city life, unaware of the silent suffering that was unfolding in the village. Bella's attempts to call him went unanswered, or were met with brief conversations where Chris's mind seemed preoccupied with the demands of his burgeoning business. Despite her neighbours' genuine concern, Bella kept her struggles to herself, refusing to let them burden her son. She would often brush off their inquiries, insisting that Chris was busy and should not be bothered. Little did she know that her son, caught up in the throes of success, was becoming increasingly oblivious to the silent cries for connection from the person who had always been his unwavering support. Back in the city, the 1-month training period for the chefs and waiters culminated in a sense of achievement and unity. The new team had not only embraced the culinary techniques and service standards, but had also internalized the values that made Chris's restaurant a unique and cherished establishment. The day of the grand opening approached, and the excitement within the team was palpable. Social media buzzed with anticipation as followers eagerly awaited the unveiling of the new branches. Chris and George, confident in the team they had cultivated, looked forward to introducing their culinary creations to a broader audience. Amidst the anticipation and celebration in the city, a poignant reality lingered in the village. Bella, once the source of strength for her son, continued to grapple with the shadows of loneliness and declining health, her silent pleas for connection lost in the echoes of a bustling city that seemed worlds away from the quiet village she called home. The day of the grand opening approached for the new branches of Chris's restaurant, and the atmosphere in the city was charged with excitement. The interiors were meticulously designed, the chefs and waiting staff were trained, and the promotional efforts on social media created a buzz among eager customers. With everything in place, Chris and George decided to celebrate the imminent success with a party, a moment of relaxation before the anticipated opening. The party venue exuded an air of accomplishment, adorned with decorations that mirrored the warmth and spirit of the restaurant. Chris and his team, clad in casual attire, revelled in the camaraderie and shared laughter that echoed through the space. It was a well-deserved break from the months of hard work, a moment to savour the fruits of their labour. As the night unfolded, the sound of joyous chatter and clinking glasses filled the air. Chris, wearing a contented smile, immersed himself in the celebratory ambiance. The party was a reflection of the unity within the team and the shared vision that had brought them to this point. Amidst the laughter and celebration, Chris's phone buzzed, indicating an incoming call. He glanced at the screen to see Bella's name flashing. However, caught up in the revelry, he hesitated for a moment, contemplating whether to take the call. Eventually, he decided to answer, unaware of the impact this brief conversation would have.
"Hey, Mom,"
Chris greeted, his voice slightly strained over the music and laughter in the background.
"I'm in the middle of something right now. Can I call you back later?"
Bella, on the other end of the line, felt a pang of disappointment. Her voice, already weakened, managed a soft reply. "Oh, it's okay, dear. I just wanted to hear your voice." Take your time and enjoy your party. We can talk later. Chris, seemingly oblivious to Bella's feelings, quickly replied, "Thanks, Mum, I'll call you soon," and promptly ended the call. Bella, left alone in the quiet village home, couldn't shake off the hurt that lingered after the brief conversation. She understood the demands of her son's busy life, but the pang of longing for a meaningful conversation with him cut deep. Feeling a heaviness in her heart, she retreated to her room. Lying on the bed, she couldn't help but reflect on the growing distance between her and Chris. The physical miles seemed inconsequential compared to the emotional gap that widened with each passing day. However, determined not to let her feelings overshadow the joyous occasion for her son, she resolved to endure the loneliness a little longer. Her body, weary from the passage of time, harboured a silent determination to hold on until the moment she could reunite with Chris. Summoning strength from within, she rose from the bed and decided to make a simple dinner for herself. The aroma of home-cooked food wafted through the air, filling the space with a sense of comfort and familiarity. As she sat down to eat, she contemplated the challenges and sacrifices inherent in the journey she had chosen. After dinner, she stepped outside, yearning for the warmth of human connection. The night air was crisp and the village buzzed with the sounds of nature. She joined a gathering of neighbours, immersing herself in the conversations and stories that flowed around her. Sitting with the community, she listened intently to the tales of daily life, finding solace in the shared experiences of the villagers. She contributed snippets of her own stories, though her voice lacked the vigour it once held. The laughter and camaraderie provided a temporary respite from the solitude that had settled in her heart. As the night wore on, she bid farewell to her neighbours, a flicker of contentment in her eyes. The communal gathering had lifted her spirits, if only for a moment. Returning to her house, she lay down, contemplating the challenges that lay ahead. The following days passed with a subdued rhythm in the village. Chris, engrossed in the restaurant openings, remained unaware of the emotional turmoil Bella endured. The distance, both physical and emotional, weighed heavily on her fragile shoulders. Yet she clung to the hope of a brighter future, a future where she could share her son's success and, more importantly, reconnect with him on a deeper level. As the grand openings approached, she found solace in the quiet moments, cherishing the memories of their conversations and hoping for a time when they could share those moments once again. The next morning dawned in the quiet village, and Bella, determined to find solace amidst the weight that lingered within her, got up early. The soft rays of the rising sun filtered through the window, casting a warm glow in the modest home. She freshened up, the cool water offering a momentary respite, and dressed in a simple, comfortable attire. As she stepped outside, the village greeted her with the familiar warmth that permeated the close-knit community. Neighbours exchanged cheerful greetings, their voices carrying the essence of camaraderie. However, her mind, heavy with unspoken concerns, lingered elsewhere. Lost in her thoughts, she couldn't fully absorb the greetings that surrounded her. She made her way to the farm, a place that had always been a source of grounding and connection. The dirt beneath her feet, the rustling leaves, and the gentle sounds of the village formed a backdrop to her contemplative journey. The villagers, observing her preoccupied state, understood the weight she carried and offered silent support. Arriving at the farm, she focused on the simple tasks that awaited her. The plants standing tall in rows seemed to beckon for attention. She took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent that surrounded her, and began the rhythmic process of watering the plants. The cool water cascaded from her hands, nourishing the soil and rejuvenating the vibrant greenery. Moving to the livestock area, she tended to the animals with a tender touch. Their familiar presence offered a sense of companionship, a respite from the silent solitude that had become a constant companion. The simple routine of farm work, with its repetitive yet grounding nature, allowed her to momentarily forget the heaviness that clung to her. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, signalling the completion of her farm duties, she returned home. The humble meal she prepared for herself mirrored the simplicity of her surroundings. The familiar tastes offered a comforting familiarity, a moment of nourishment for both body and soul. After lunch, exhaustion washed over her, and the weight of her thoughts became too burdensome. Seeking refuge in the embrace of her bed, she succumbed to an afternoon slumber. The quiet village, nestled in nature's embrace, cradled her in a momentary escape from the realities that pressed upon her. In the evening, as the sun began its descent, she decided to reach out to her son. With a sense of anticipation, she dialed his number. The phone rang, and after a few moments, Chris's voice greeted her on the other end.
"Hey, Mum,"
he said, his voice carrying a hint of fatigue from the day's activities.
"How are you?"
Bella, mustering a smile despite the weight on her heart, replied, "I'm doing fine, dear. How are things there?" Chris, caught in the rush of his demanding schedule, responded,
"Busy, Mum. The restaurant openings are just around the corner and there's so much to do. So please stop calling like every time."
Bella, listening to his voice, felt a bittersweet mixture of pride and longing. "I'm glad to hear that, Chris. Your hard work will surely pay off. Just remember to take a moment for yourself and don't worry. I won't call you often."
"Yeah, thank you," Chris assured, the wariness in his voice evident. "I'll try to call more often, okay?"
Bella, appreciating the sentiment, replied, "Oh, that would be nice, dear. I miss our talks. Take care of yourself." As the call ended, she couldn't help but feel a tinge of disappointment. The connection she sought seemed to elude her, obscured by the demands of Chris's bustling life. Nonetheless, she appreciated the brief moments of conversation, cherishing the sound of his voice. In the city, after ending the call with Bella, Chris bid farewell to George and retreated to his apartment. The city, with its relentless pace, seemed to fade into the background as fatigue claimed him. He collapsed onto his bed, the day's responsibilities momentarily eclipsed by the need for rest. As the night unfolded, the quiet village cradled Bella in its embrace. The soft murmurs of nature, the distant sounds of the countryside, and the comfort of her familiar surroundings provided a solace that transcended the physical distance from her son. The weight of unspoken concerns lingered, but for a moment she found peace in the simplicity of her village life. In the bustling city, the countdown to the grand opening of Chris's new restaurant branches had begun. With only a week remaining, Chris and George decided to add a touch of glamour to the momentous occasion by inviting 2 famous stars to cut the ribbon. The decision was met with excitement and anticipation as the duo aimed to create a memorable event for both the staff and the eagerly awaited customers. Chris and George, fueled by a shared enthusiasm for the impending openings, delved into the meticulous planning required for the big day. They sat down, pens in hand, mapping out the logistics and details that would make the event a resounding success. From the timing of the openings to the arrangement of tables and chairs, every aspect was scrutinized to ensure a seamless experience for the guests. The decision to hold one opening in the morning and the other in the evening added a layer of anticipation, allowing them to cater to a diverse audience throughout the day. With the plan in place, they set out to make the necessary arrangements. One of the highlights of their strategy was to invite 2 well-known social media influencers to cut the ribbon and officially inaugurate the restaurants. The influencers, with their large online following, would not only add a dash of glamour to the event, but also amplify the reach of the restaurant's opening through their digital platforms. Chris and George reached out to the influencers, detailing their vision for the grand opening and the significance of the event. Excitement rippled through the social media sphere as the influencers eagerly accepted the invitation, pledging their support for the restaurant's venture. In the week leading up to the opening, Chris and George worked tirelessly to transform the venues into inviting spaces that reflected the essence of the original restaurant. From coordinating deliveries of fresh produce to overseeing the final touches on the interiors, their dedication shone through in every detail. The staff, equally invested in the success of the new branches, rallied behind Chris and George. The kitchen buzzed with energy as chefs prepared signature dishes, ensuring that the culinary offerings would be as spectacular as the occasion demanded. The waitstaff rehearsed their steps, eager to provide impeccable service to the guests. As the day of the grand opening approached, a palpable sense of excitement filled the air. The aroma of freshly cooked meals wafted through the kitchens, and the venues sparkled with the warmth of carefully arranged decorations. The staff donned their uniforms, shared smiles and words of encouragement, united in their collective anticipation for the big day. The quiet village, usually enveloped in the serene embrace of nature, was thrust into a sudden turmoil just 3 days before the grand opening of Chris's new restaurant branches. Bella, a pillar of strength in the community, was chatting with her neighbours when an unexpected and ominous event occurred. Without warning, she faltered and collapsed, leaving those around her in a state of shock. Concerned villagers rushed her to the nearest hospital, the air heavy with anxiety and worry. As they awaited news from the doctor, the small hospital waiting room became a haven for collective apprehension. Faces etched with lines of concern exchanged glances, each person grappling with the severity of the situation. The doctor emerged, his expression grave. In a room filled with anxious hearts, he explained the unfortunate reality. Bella had not been taking her prescribed high blood pressure medication, resulting in undue stress on her heart. The culmination of neglect led to her sudden fainting spell, and the prognosis was grim. The doctor gently intimated that time was of the essence, and her days in this world were limited. A heavy silence descended upon the room, broken only by stifled sobs and the sound of hearts collectively breaking. The villagers who had always regarded Bella with deep respect and affection were now grappling with the harsh reality of her frailty. The doctor, recognizing the urgency of the situation, requested that a family member be brought in to initiate the necessary treatment. Frantically, the villagers tried to contact Chris, the son whose success was the pride of the village. However, in the frenzy of the impending grand opening preparations, Chris remained elusive, entangled in a web of planning and coordination. As the calls to Chris went unanswered, a collective sense of desperation settled over the room. With each failed attempt, the villagers felt the weight of helplessness intensify. One person, fueled by a sense of responsibility and compassion, offered to step in and undertake the formalities required to initiate Bella's treatment. With the doctor's approval, this kind soul navigated through the bureaucratic intricacies, completing the necessary paperwork to admit Bella into the hospital for urgent treatment. The medical team, aware of the critical condition, swiftly began their efforts to stabilize her. In the bustling city, Chris remained blissfully unaware of the unfolding crisis. Engulfed in a schedule of meetings, inspections, and final preparations for the grand opening, he was insulated from the news that could shatter the very foundation of his world. The constant buzzing of his phone and the persistent attempts to reach him went unnoticed in the cacophony of his responsibilities. In the hospital, the days ticked away, each passing moment intensifying the villagers' worry for Bella. The medical team diligently attended to her, administering treatments to alleviate the strain on her heart. The small community rallied around her, praying for her recovery and grappling with the burden of unspoken words and unsent messages to Chris. The village, usually united by celebrations, was now united by shared anxiety. Phone calls to Chris persisted, but he remained elusive, absorbed in the vortex of his restaurant openings. Those who managed to connect with him were met with brief exchanges. Chris's responses hurried and detached. His mind, consumed by the impending success of his ventures, seemed impervious to the urgency of the situation back in the village. The small hospital room became a makeshift haven for vigilance. Villagers, taking turn to stay by Bella's side, shared stories and memories in hushed tones. The flickering hospital lights cast shadows that mirrored the collective uncertainty that had enveloped the village. As the clock ticked away, The grand opening drew closer. The villagers, torn between their loyalty to Chris and their concern for Bella, grappled with the moral dilemma of whether to disrupt the celebrations with the grim news. Every ring of Chris's phone, every unanswered call deepened the sense of frustration and helplessness. In the city, Chris, oblivious to the turmoil in his village, immersed himself in the final preparations for the grand opening. The restaurant venues, meticulously curated to reflect his vision, echoed with the anticipation of success. The calls from the village, the pleas for his attention, went unanswered as Chris sailed through a sea of responsibilities, his focus unwavering. Meanwhile in the city, Chris revelled in the triumph of his grand opening. The applause, the cheers and the positive reviews on social media became the soundtrack to his success. Oblivious to the muted sorrow in his village, he took centre stage, acknowledging the praise and accolades that came his way. The day of the grand opening arrived, a day that should have been marked by celebration and triumph, yet in the village hospital room the air was heavy with an unspoken truth. Bella, battling against the frailty of her own body, remained a silent spectator to the events that unfolded beyond the confines of her hospital bed. On the morning of the opening, the first venue was bathed in the soft glow of dawn. The ribbon, meticulously placed at the entrance, awaited the touch of the invited star who would officially inaugurate the restaurant. The staff gathered, their faces reflecting a mix of nervousness and eagerness. The social media influencer arrived, greeted by cheers and applause from the staff. Chris and George welcomed the guest, expressing gratitude for their presence and the shared excitement for the event. Cameras flashed as the influencer, scissor in hands, cut the ribbon, symbolising the birth of a new culinary haven. The morning opening unfolded seamlessly, with guests indulging in delectable dishes and soaking in the vibrant atmosphere. The success of the first event set the stage for the evening grand opening, which promised its unique charm. As the day transitioned into evening, the second venue became alive with the anticipation of a new chapter. The second social media influencer, equally enthusiastic, took centre stage. The ribbon fell to the ground once more, making the official commencement of the evening festivities. The two grand openings had not only captivated the hearts of the attendees, but also garnered attention on social media platforms. Posts and stories flooded the digital sphere, showcasing the allure of Chris's restaurants and generating excitement among potential customers. As the events concluded, Chris and George shared a moment of pride and satisfaction. The hard work, meticulous planning, and support of the staff had culminated in two successful grand openings. The venues, now bustling with satisfied guests, stood as a testament to the dedication and vision that had fueled the venture. In the aftermath of the openings, the social media influencers expressed their delight at being part of the celebration. Their positive reviews and posts added to the momentum, promising sustained interest and patronage for Chris's new branches. The staff, exhausted but exhilarated, gathered for a moment of camaraderie. Chris and George expressed gratitude for their unwavering support and dedication. The shared sense of accomplishment permeated the atmosphere as the team revelled in the realization that they had created something truly special. The grand opening day, with its ribbon-cutting ceremonies, influencers and jubilant guests, marked the beginning of a new chapter for Chris's restaurants. The journey, though challenging, had proven that hard work, dedication and a shared vision could turn dreams into reality. As the venues echoed with the laughter and chatter of satisfied patrons, Chris and George looked forward to a future filled with continued success and the promise of creating more #heartfelt connections in the culinary world. As the night unfolded and the celebrations continued, the villagers in the hospital room exchanged knowing glances. They clung to the hope that Chris's success would bring him joy, even as they braced themselves for the inevitable moment when the celebration would subside and the shadows of reality would cast their long-awaited presence. The grand opening, marked by triumphs and adulations, obscured the sombre undertones that echoed in the village. The villagers, bound by an unspoken pact to preserve the joy of the moments, stood united in their resolve to face the difficult days that lay ahead. The morning sun painted the quiet village with hues of gold, casting a warm glow over the aftermath of the grand opening day. In revelry and applause, Chris, the architect of success, found himself waking up to a stark reality. As he reached for his phone, the small device bore silent testimony to the missed calls from Bella's number. Concern furrowed his brow as he dialed her number, his heart pounding with unease. Ring after ring echoed through the receiver, but no one answered. Determination etched his face as he decided to put aside the celebrations and embark on a journey back to the village that held a secret, one that had eluded him in the chaotic fervour of the grand opening. Taking an impromptu break, Chris got into his car and drove, with a sense of urgency, back to the village. The familiar landscape unfolded before him, each passing mile carrying the weight of anticipation and worry. As he reached his childhood home, however, a disconcerting sight greeted him. The door was locked, and an eerie silence hung in the air. Confusion etched across Chris's face as he scanned the surroundings. It was then that a concerned villager spotted him and hurriedly approached. A mix of worry and frustration etched on their face. Without a moment's hesitation, they scolded Chris for his failure to answer Bella's calls, emphasizing the urgency of the situation.
"I've been trying to call you for days and you didn't pick up. Your mother's at the hospital. Hurry, we need to get you there," the villagers exclaimed, their words punctuated by a sense of urgency that struck Chris like a bolt of lightning. Rushing to the hospital, Chris's heart raced with a myriad of emotions. Guilt, worry, and a growing sense of regret. The village hospital, once a place of solace for minor ailments, now loomed large as the setting for a revelation that would change Chris's life forever. As he entered the hospital room, the air seemed to thicken with an atmosphere of despair. Bella lay there, frail and unconscious, connected to various machines that monitored her struggling heart. The room echoed with the rhythmic beeping of her heart rate monitor, a poignant reminder of the fragility of life. Tears welled up in Chris's eyes as he beheld the sight before him. Bella, who had once been the embodiment of strength, now lay in a vulnerable state, her condition a consequence of his neglect. In a voice choked with remorse, he pleaded for her forgiveness, his words a desperate attempt to undo the damage inflicted by his preoccupation.
"Mum, I'm so sorry. I should have been there. I should have answered your calls. Please forgive me," Chris whispered, his voice carrying the weight of a son's regret. However, Bella remained unconscious, her fragile form a silent testament to the toll her deteriorating health had taken. The room seemed to close in on Chris as he grappled with the realization that his negligence had led to this dire situation. Stepping out of the room, the villagers who had accompanied Chris shared the grim details of Bella's suffering. They explained how she had fainted due to the stress on her heart, aggravated by the absence of the medication she so desperately needed. The harsh reality unfolded before Chris like a painful narrative, each word an indictment of his failure as a son. He listened in silence as the villagers recounted the events leading to Bella's hospitalization. Guilt, like an unrelenting force, settled in the pit of Chris's stomach. The bustling city with its grand openings and triumphs now seemed a distant mirage as the gravity of his actions bore down on him. In a determined resolve to make amends, Chris decided to stay by Bella's side, vowing to take for her until she recovered. The hospital, once a place of fleeting checkups, now became a battleground where Chris sought redemption for his negligence. Days turned into nights as Chris maintained a vigil at Bella's bedside. The hospital, with its sterile walls and muted lighting, became a solemn arena where a son faced the consequences of his oversight. With each passing moment, his remorse deepened, manifesting in silent tears and a resolve to mend the fractured bond with Bella. One night, as the dim hospital lights cast elongated shadows across the room, Chris found himself alone with his thoughts. The rhythmic hum of machines underscored the solitude, amplifying the weight of his regrets. As he gazed at Bella, a sense of helplessness washed over him. In the stillness of the night, a sudden spike in the heart rate monitor shattered the quiet. Panic set in as Chris rushed to call the doctor, the urgency in his voice mirroring the desperate plea for a chance at redemption. The medical team, with a collective effort, worked to stabilize Bella, their faces reflecting a shared determination to defy the inevitability that loomed. However, despite their best efforts, the room bore witness to an unspoken truth. The heart rate monitor, once a steady companion, fell silent. The doctor, weary from the futile battle, met Chris's eyes with a sorrowful gaze. "I'm sorry. We did everything we could. the doctor said, the weight of those words settling in the room like an unyielding truth. Chris, who had already been burdened by the weight of guilt, now found himself drowning in an abyss of regret. The tears, once confined to silent contemplation now, flowed freely as he cradled Bella's lifeless hand. The room, once filled with the echoes of hope, now resounded with the silence of an irreversible loss. In the aftermath of Bella's passing, Chris faced the harsh reality of the consequences of his neglect. The bustling city, with its grand openings and accolades, seemed distant and insignificant compared to the magnitude of the loss he now bore. Regret, like a haunting spectre, lingered in the corners of Chris's consciousness. The vibrant village, once a source of solace and community, now held memories tainted by the price of negligence. Each missed call, each unspoken word stood as a testament to the irreversible chasm that had widened between mother and son. As he stood by Bella's lifeless form, Chris's tears mingled with the echoes of remorse that reverberated through the hospital room. The grand opening, a fleeting moment of triumph, now paled in comparison to the profound loss that eclipsed it. In the stillness of that moment, Chris faced a reckoning that transcended the boundaries of success and failure, a son grappling with the eternal consequences of a momentary lapse in connection. The small village, once a haven of familiar faces and shared stories, had transformed into a sombre tableau as the community gathered to bid farewell to Bella. The air resonated with sorrow, and tear-streaked faces mirrored the collective grief that enveloped the village. The funeral was a poignant affair, attended by all the villagers, Chris's friends and the staff from the successful restaurant branches. The finality of the moment hung in the air as prayers and condolences echoed through the silent surroundings. The cortege, adorned with flowers and laden with the weight of loss, made its way to the final resting place. After the last shovelful of earth settled upon the grave, Chris found himself standing alone, a silent witness to the void left by Bella's departure. The gravity of the loss began to sink in, and the once vibrant village seemed to have lost its lustre. As the villagers dispersed, offering condolences and sharing glances of empathy, finally Chris retreated to his childhood home, the place that now felt both familiar and painfully vacant. It was a bittersweet return to the house that held memories of laughter, warmth, and the unwavering support of a mother. Walking through the rooms, Chris's eyes lingered on the familiar corners that once echoed with Bella's presence. It was during this solitary journey that he stumbled upon a letter tucked away in a drawer. A handwritten missive from Bella. The sight of her handwriting stirred a myriad of emotions within him: love, regret, and an overwhelming sense of loss. Clutching the letter in his hands, Chris hesitated. The weight of the words within felt like a heavy burden, and the prospect of facing the emotions that awaited him seemed daunting. Seeking solace in the collective strength of the village, Chris decided to share the contents of the letter with those who had been part of Bella's life. Stepping out into the quiet village, Chris approached the villagers and requested that they read the letter aloud to him. The community, ever supportive and united in grief, gathered around. As the words unfolded, the letter revealed a mother's heartfelt expressions of love, encouragement, and unwavering pride in her son's achievements. Dear Chris, as I write these words, my heart is filled with immense pride and joy for the wonderful person you have become. Life is a journey, my dear, and your path has been adorned with achievements and success. I want you to know that I have always believed in your potential, and each step you took brought joy to my heart. Remember, my love for you is boundless and eternal. Life will have its ups and downs, but you are stronger than you think. Face challenges with courage, embrace opportunities with humility, and never lose sight of the goodness within your heart. In times of solitude, remember that you are never alone. The lessons I have shared, the love we have nurtured, and the memories we've created will be your guiding light. Cherish each moment, my son, for life is fleeting, and it's the connections we make that truly matter. Continue to pursue your dreams with passion, but do not let success overshadow the beauty of simple moments. Find joy in the laughter of friends, the warmth of shared meals, and the comfort of a familial embrace. I'm proud of the person you are, and I believe in the incredible future that awaits you. Carry my love in your heart, and know that I am with you in spirit, cheering you on every step of the way. With all my love, Mum. As the last words of the letter hung in the air, Chris felt a surge of emotions. The heartfelt words, penned by Bella, resonated with wisdom, love, and a mother's timeless encouragement. Tears welled up in his eyes, and the weight of regret pressed heavily on his heart. He felt guilty for not being with his mother in search of success. He lost his mother. He bought his restaurant up, but when he finally came back, he didn't find anything but just a letter expressing his mum's last words. The villagers, sensing Chris's vulnerability, offered their condolences and extended supportive gestures. Hands on his shoulders, comforting words, and shared tears created a moment of communal solace. The village, in its collective mourning, became a sanctuary of empathy and understanding. Feeling a mix of emotions, Chris retreated into the solitude of his home, clutching the letter close to his heart. The days that followed were a blur of grief, introspection, and the slow process of coming to terms with the absence of Bella. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt cavernous, echoing with memories that were both a source of comfort and a poignant reminder of loss. In the weeks that followed, the village rallied around Chris. Neighbours offered homemade meals, shared stories, and provided a comforting presence that eased the harshness of solitude. The communal spirit, a defining characteristic of the village, became a beacon of hope in Chris's darkest moments. Despite the support, Chris found himself grappling with the emptiness that pervaded his daily life. The bustling city where success and accolades awaited felt desolate compared to the warmth and simplicity of his village home. The memory of Bella lingered in every corner, an intangible presence that shaped his every thought. One day, as the weight of Bella's absence became too heavy to bear, Chris made a profound decision. He chose to sell all the property he owned in the village, except for the house that held the essence of his childhood and the love he shared with Bella. Returning to the city, Chris grappled with the challenges of reconciling his thriving career with the profound loss he carried in his heart. The successful restaurant branches, once a testament to his achievements, now stood as a bittersweet reminder of a journey marked by both triumph and sorrow. In a self-imposed routine, Chris made it a point to return to the village every week. The familiar faces, the shared laughter, and the warmth of his neighbours provided a respite from the bustling city life. He spent time with those who had been part of Bella's world, finding solace in the simplicity of their shared moments. Yet, the solitude of his apartment in the city became a silent arena where the absence of Bella echoed loudly. During the quiet hours of the night, while working alone, Chris found himself grappling with an emptiness that success could not fill. The lessons of simplicity and connection imparted by Bella lingered as a poignant reminder of what truly mattered. Amid city lights and urban pursuits, Chris yearned for the comforting embrace of his village home. Bella's wisdom, captured in the heartfelt letter, resonated as a guiding force, urging him to find joy in the simplicity of life and to cherish the connections that transcended success and accolades. The journey of grief and healing continued for Chris, a son navigating the complexities of loss and legacy. The village, with its unwavering support, became a sanctuary of memories and shared stories that helped him carry the essence of Bella's love into the chapters that awaited him. With renewed determination, he infused the essence of Bella's teachings into the fabric of his restaurant branches. The establishments transformed into more than just culinary hubs. They became spaces where people gathered for the shared warmth of community. As Chris navigated grief, he realized that Bella's love and wisdom were guiding stars illuminating the path ahead. The story did not end with loss. It unfolded as a tapestry woven with threads of connection, hope, and the indomitable spirit of love. The restaurant thrived, not just as a business venture, but as a living tribute to a mother's enduring legacy, a legacy that inspired others to find solace, strength, and joy in the simple moments that defined a life well lived.